Hi, everybody, and welcome into Going Public. I am Harry McCullough. This week we'll be speaking with the North Lafourche Levee District. The executive director is Dwayne Bourgeois, and one of the project and program managers is Arthur Ostheimer. So thanks you guys so much for being with us.
Thanks
And
for having us.
we had been talking a lot about flood maps. We decided this time, you did, that we could talk a little bit about some of the improvements you guys have made and some of the other projects that are going on.
Yeah, the flood insurance has been the topic du jour, the risk rating 2.0, the mapping, and all of those things. But we figured it's time to, since we're kind of in a lull, we're still waiting for the judge to make his ruling on the hearing that took place September 14th for injunctive relief, and whether we have standing to bring the suit. Actually, are the two things that he's looking to settle. That's still we're waiting for the judge. I don't think there's anything to read into it one way or the other. From what I'm told, it can take this amount of time. So we figured we take today the opportunity to say that, yeah, we actually do have a day job where we're building levees and we're helping construct pump stations and other things like that. So we wanted to take an opportunity to show a few projects, and we're queuing up our budget for next year. We're expecting our finance and priority committee has met and went through our budget for next year, and we're expecting to propose a capital projects budget. So this is the part of the budget where we're building the flood protection, the drainage type things, and something close to $21 million, which is nearly 3 times the amount we collect from the ad valorem taxes and the sales taxes that our constituents pay. So it's good. We're getting additional money from the state through Coastal Protection Restoration Authority and through the capital outlay process with our legislators and surplus funds. So, big credit to our legislators and CPRA for extending our budget by more than double, almost triple of what we collect on our
If you would just go with that ad valorem tax, you'd be working with a $7 million budget.
yeah, 7 to 8 million, and so now we're able to work with a whole
And
bunch more.
fortify, and that like you were talking about, fortify, strengthen, make things work better, and then hopefully down the road the federal government acknowledges what you do.
Well, right. It would, ironically, we were in. It always swings back to flood insurance. So we were in Denton, Texas yesterday with Lafourche Parish President Archie Chasson and Mitch Ogeron from his staff and some engineers that are working with us on these projects to get the maps a little better in Lafourche Parish. And part of that is a recognition of the levees. There is a process by which they start to recognize. It used to be that if a levee wasn't accredited, which is meeting a certain Code of Federal Regulations standard, that during the flood insurance study would just act like it didn't exist, which it did exist. And the water never checked to see if a levee doesn't check to see if a levee is certified or not, right? So we've got them down that process, and we're continuing to work with them.
That's good to hear.
But the way we do it is, since 2019, we had to stop giving them new information, but we never stopped working. And so this is what we're kind of trying to want to show today. Maybe we can start with some slides, and I can.
Yeah, I'll have to jump in whenever you guys go ahead.
Yeah, he can give you some of the particulars on the project. So I just kind of set it up. This map you're seeing to the very south end of it is Houma. North of it is northwest corner is Thibodeau, and you see this yellow dashed area. So we're calling it the Thibodeau Lockport Bayou Blue, which is a project area for us. Hollywood Canal closure, and you can see some of the blue lines to the west of that item, that trapezoid, if you will. We've got water that can come from the Gulf Intercoastal Waterway and back up through the Company Canal to the Hollywood, and it backs into the neighborhoods along Bayou Blue. And this is a project that will be able to shut that down and pump that out. So we're using some natural ridges to work with us instead of levees. I think next slide will show you. This is a closure. So if you're on Prospect Extension and you cross over Hollywood Canal, if you're coming from Houma, you look to your right, and you'll see this closure, which is both a closure and a pump station. So it will pump water out. So as water would try to back into the system and diminish our capacity during a storm, it would go the other way. And next slide shows what's on the upper end of the Hollywood Canal, where we are able to stop an infinite source of water. So the water has two routes it can take down from coming from the Thibodeau area. So it'll go down Bayou Falls and the 40 Arpent Canal by tomorrow. It'll still get out this way. We won't have this infinite water backing into the
Like by Shane, basically over there, and
yeah,
like
it does a
it
similar
comes back
thing.
the back way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and I guess next slide we can just kind of keep going. This one, and I'll let Arthur tell you a little bit about it. We've actually the yellow area on the left side is what we call Lockport to LaRose Reach B1. So this is south of Lockport on the LA1 side. And my picture is actually blurring out a little bit of a corner right there on the right. That other, I don't know, I guess you call it blue. Not sure. That's Reach B3, and we can show you some pictures of that in the next slide. And Arthur can maybe give you an idea of what we're doing there.
Yeah, our Reach B levee is about 3.1 miles, and we've actually been able to improve two sections of it. The Reach B1, which was a priority based on its condition at the time, we were able to move it out, widen it, stabilize it, improve the elevation of 7.5 feet. This improved approximately
Next
1.3
slide.
miles of the levee, and we paid $2.6 million that the levee district invested in this project. And we are currently about to complete it. Reach B3 is on the tail end of the Reach B, and this is all part of the Lockport to LaRose system. And you have Bayou LeBleu, which appears on the left of that picture, and you have an interior drainage channel, and we have this levee right in the middle. And we had some stability concerns with this system, so as part of our maintenance program, we invested some money. We improved the elevation and the stability of this levee to get better protection for the residents in this
How
area.
high is that now, Arthur?
That levee is 6 feet. Now, this is an interim project. We do have plans to improve this whole system to 7.5, but just wanted to address what we can address right now with it. And this is a small section. It's only about a third of a mile, but you can tell it has water on both sides of the system.
Right. Yeah, we find ourselves in a tight place to work in a lot of cases. So we've got local engineers that work with us and local contractors, and can't leave them out of the mix. They contribute directly. Their local knowledge is irreplaceable in us being able to move forward with some of these projects. So kudos to all of them, and we different engineers on different projects, and as we continue to move through and make those improvements. So maybe we'll throw up another slide, the next one in the batch. All of what we're talking about here becomes secondary to Marganza to the Gulf system, right? So that's the big system that's running to our south. But in Marganza to the Gulf, you can see here, Lockport is in the upper left part of the screen, and then down below you have the South Lafourche system. And so we have the levee is going to come in very bottom of that screen and go along the north base of the South Lafourche system, and then that orange line is more or less where it's going to work its way along the eastern side of Bayou Lafourche up towards Lockport. And we've been working with the Corps on refining that alignment, getting it nailed down, because it'll be part of the entire Marganza to the Gulf system. But we're able to do some work along those alignments that becomes in-kind contributions, right? And we've already done some. We're working on some with them. So if you look at the first slide behind us, I think the project we're talking about is Reach D2, and I'll let Arthur tell you a little bit about this project.
Yeah, this is
really helps out.
It's Reach 2. This was another priority within the system. As you said, it could be will more likely be part of the Morganza to the Gulf alignment, but this is also an area where we had a lot of overtopping during Hurricane Ida last several weeks, and we were able to improve this elevation to 7.5 feet. It's been recently completed. Levee District, with help from CPRA, invested $2.6 million to improve. It's approximately 3.5 miles of levee that protects the Valentine all the way down to the LaRose communities in Lafourche.
So we're much better off. I think the next slide is just another picture of that. We're much better off than where we were with Ida, and as we talked about earlier, we're better off than when the maps were done. So we're going to be looking to include these data into the study, the data from these levee systems into the studies that that FEMA is doing as our maps move forward. So I think what's the next slide? I'm trying to remember where we are. Well, going back one to this slide, we'll stay on the Marganza if you can go back one, because I think we're getting close to the end of the section. But to talk in terms of Marganza, there's additional reaches further up that we actually have funding with the state for to move Reach 3B. So we're continuing to try to work along the alignment that the Corps is working with us on. We were working on our protection from what I call our eastern flank, right? So water can come across the system before the Marganza to the Gulf system actually came into our district, right? Because that was the post authorization change report in 2014, where it reached around and came into our district and to avoid the flanking. So what we're continuing to work with the Corps is to refine that. We had been working for a long time. We knew where all of the skeletons were, if you will, all of the pipelines. We knew the best way to do this to where we had the least environmental impact. And, but the Corps' post-authorization change report alignment is now something the Corps has to contend with. They have to work through it, and they have to go through their processes to make a change to what we call our preferred alignment. And the irony is we could have never gotten a permit from the Corps to do what they're proposing, but they still have to work backwards through their process. And we're making headway on that finally. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, so we got a lot more to show. We'll be continuing with the North Lafourche Levee District. We'll be right back with Going Public after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Everybody, welcome back to Going Public. Harry McCullough here. And the North Lafourche Levee District is our topic tonight. Dwayne Bourgeois is the executive director. Arthur Osteimer is here. The program. I'm sorry, I was playing with it. We were talking about a German name. He's the project manager for a lot of these things. We had just moved on from the Reach B, and now we're
Marganza to the Gulf, and so now we've got another slide. We can show you another area that we've been working on. So. From Lockport to LaRose, and this would be on what we call the LA1 side of the bayou, the west side of the bayou. We've done improvements. I think you saw the reaches B1 and B3 up there, so those are closer to Lockport. We've been continuing to work down through it, and Reach D2 is one of the reaches. Is in the bottom section here. We made some improvements. Ultimately, we're going to be working our way around back towards Bayou Lafourche to kind of complete a ring levee system protection. But Arthur can walk you through, I think, the next slide, some pictures, and he can tell you a little bit about this project.
Yeah, the Reach D2, D3 levees, which are proximal to the intercoastal, so they are lower in the system. We had done an initial lift that we completed in early 2018 that raised this to 6.5 feet, allowed it to settle over a few years, and we came back with another capital project to raise the elevation to 8 foot. It's approximately 1.9 miles. As I said, it has areas that parallels intercoastal, and then it turns back up, but it is proximal to water throughout. It's about $1.4 million to raise this from about a 5.5 to an 8 foot elevation and increase the stability on the levee.
And that'll make a big difference, right? That 3
Yes.
feet, because
Yeah.
this is one of our areas, right, that had trouble during the storm.
Well, it was actually on the other side of the bayou, but this would have been close. Given the track of the storm, it's 20 miles to the west, and this would have been in a different situation.
Right.
I think you got another picture on D2.
Next slide.
Yeah, this is looking from the intercoastal back towards the north.
This project's almost complete. We should be wrapping it up this month or early December. So we're excited to complete another project.
One good thing about the storm, the drought, right? We got a lot of work done this year. with
Well,
rain. Huh?
that's for sure.
Yes.
The drought has allowed us to move more dirt. God, I don't know that we've ever moved more dirt than we've moved during the drought. And drought does have some impact on the levees, and it inside of the levees you've got organic soils. Those organic soils, when you have a drought condition, they'll oxidize because oxygen will get into them. But so you'll have these big cracks and everything else, and it'll start sinking. It'll sink rapidly, which means we have to put some more dirt back on it. So there's no doubt that we've got an elevation issue that we're going to have to continue to address. The good news is the soils get stronger, right? You're converting from organic soils, which have weak shear stress, shear capability, to mineral soils, which are just all mineral, and they're getting them wet, doing the things won't fluff them back up again, but it's oxidized and gone. But the soils are stronger, so we're getting better bases, and but it is something we have to recognize that we've lost elevation fairly rapidly throughout a lot of our levee systems. In the neighborhood of 5 to 6 inches. In some places.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you moved some dirt this year, though.
Well, we moved some dirt, right? So that's
lot
a
of
good
Less
thing.
on the highways.
Yeah. So next slide. I guess we'll keep moving along. Yeah. So I had decided to put a lot of trees in all of the drainage canals and reservoirs. So in every forced drainage area, you have a reservoir canal that typically parallels the levee, and all of the water drains from the top of the ridge towards that reservoir canal. And I'll let Arthur explain the tour de force that we went through getting trees out of canals.
It was a process. We were fortunate to receive about $770,000 that it was an NRCS grant, and but it comes with conditions, which there's a lot of conditions that you have to meet, including permitting. And so even though Ida was 21, it took us till till this year to actually get the project going. But we were able to take this money, and we cleared about 50 miles of interior drainage canals with this project. I mean, it was, I want to say we did well over 3,100 trees that were removed, cut to specific lengths, and all based on the guidance we received. And they were able to lay on the toe of the levee, so we don't have to haul them out and damage our levee systems. But we were able to open up these drainage channels so that they could feed the pumps and
That makes a big
help keep
difference.
makes a huge difference to allow water to flow to the pumps. And this was on top of just highlighting some of the other projects. If you go to the next slide, we do. This is maintenance work we do with we did this project we have a smaller marsh buggy that grinds the trees, clears the trees. This is a channel that was historical drainage north of Thibodaux that had been allowed to overgrow with trees. It's in a mitigation bank, so we had to work with the Corps just to reestablish what was historic drainage for these areas to allow not only agricultural fields but neighborhoods that all gravity drain in this area.
And we've got a series of very specialized equipment that is marsh buggies and a one-track machine. We're looking maybe to get another track machine, but things that you typically can't go rent, right? So we have a deep water marsh buggy that is 8-foot tall pontoons. You can literally drive a truck under the marsh buggy, right? And so there's nothing like it out there. So it allows us to work in deep water and do canal maintenance and things like that. The smaller unit is small enough to actually get into some of these smaller drainage channels and work its way from the sides. It has a auxiliary power unit, which gives it capability for the tools, the grinders and cutters that are on the tools, to basically efficiently take things out. But when you're working through an established mitigation bank, we were forced with the situation where we had farmers and others saying, look, all the water's not getting through the bank. It used to run through the bank. It's not there. But the bank was established, and the Corps approved the bank, and the intentions were that the water was going to continue to drain through. And again, working with the Corps, they worked with us on this to make sure that we didn't, jeopardize the purpose of the bank, and we were able to come through with that piece of equipment that we call Taz, as in the Tasmanian Devil, because it's got a lot of power and spins around, does whatever it needs to do and get it done. And so we moved through with that. And so we've got a lot of that type of thing, besides those big capital projects where we go out to bid and, follow contract bid law, and we put it out there. We do, budget nearly $1 million a year for maintenance type work, which is all over the place, and trying to keep things done, because we're a drainage and levee district. So we're responsible for helping with internal drainage projects. We generally have a disposition with the parish where we do the bigger channels and they do the roadside ditches and interior drainage, and we try to get the the bigger channels
Oh,
to be able to
you
cut
could work
things away.
24 hours a day, right? If you had the right permits.
Those
And look,
machines.
New Orleans kind of went into that too. They went in some of their drainage canals. There's cars and all kind of stuff in there.
Yeah,
And if you don't do the maintenance to keep it flowing, then all
Right.
that money you used to build these things kind
Right.
of go to waste.
right. All the pumping in the world is no good if you can't get the water to the pump, and so that's one of the things we focus on. I don't know if we have any more
I
slides. or
think we
that's-
have one more slide. This was just another interior neighborhood. This was actually a unique one because Acadia Woods, which is a part of Thibodeau, and all their water flows into St. Louis Bayou, which is part of Terrebonne.
Yeah.
So we worked with Terrebonne's administration, who was very helpful. We had a cooperative endeavor agreement where they allowed us to go in and clear this drainage channel that drains. This is the main drainage for that whole neighborhood that allows that water to go to St. Louis Bayou and opens this back up and feeds back to the pump stations lower in the 1B system.
Yeah, water knows no boundaries. I mean,
No.
it doesn't. So
Another parish line.
No.
you know, it was excellent working with Terrebonne Parish government.
You
and-
guys
and-
have a history of that, right?
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
going all the way back to like Bayou Coteau Road and, or the Houma shortcut if you're coming from one way.
Right,
and
you're
Burglar
correct.
Road's going the other.
Lots of places where
But
the
those
water just
levees
comes
meet up.
across.
Yeah.
And we have cooperative endeavor agreements with the levee districts. I was on the phone with Reggie Dupre this morning about some things we're going to have to do working together for Marganza. We've got to grant some right of access, but we're not the actual non-federal sponsor. Terrebonne Levee and the state are the non-federal sponsors for Marganza to go. So technically, the non-federal sponsor has to send out rights of access so the Corps can come in and do the evaluations they need to do. It would look weird coming from Reggie, as
Right,
Terrebonne Levee into Lafourche Parish. So we're talking about how we're going to be able to do it. But we have several standing cooperative endeavor agreements. We've got another project that we're looking to advance along Marganza to the Gulf along Reach K. And we have both parishes and all three levee districts in the area planning to contribute funds to it. And so it's one of those oddities, right? It benefits Lafourche, North Lafourche a lot, but it's in South Lafourche's district and it benefits Terrebonne, right? And so we got to work together.
You
and we
got
do
to
very well.
look. I mean, all we can see what didn't work a couple of years back, 2016, when you had a flood that probably started in Feliciana, but it went through
Right.
Livingston and East Baton Rouge. It's Iberville and Ascension are kind of blocking things because that's where it's going to go. And man,
Yeah.
it flooded all kinds of people. They weren't working together. I think they are now. Hopefully,
So we're not done. We actually have a lot of projects left to do. Arthur was going to mention a couple real quick.
Yeah,
And,
just going into 2024, we do have some big projects going to be kicking off. Just to highlight a few, we have a Raceland Prairie project. This is going to be a part of the 4.1 million we received in capital outlay. We just awarded a $4.8 million project to improve 5 miles of levees, stabilize these levees. These are old historic levees that have been
Dutch built, right?
they were built a long time ago, but it protects some very low-lying communities in the 1 of 12, 2 of 12 areas in Raceland. So we have this project kicking off. We expect to start advertising Ludovine Pump Station, which is going to be a 450 CFS pump in the La Rose area. That we expect to advertise and be constructed next year. We have the Morganza to Gulf Reach 3B, which Dwayne mentioned earlier. We got that's $7.8 million that's about 2.3 miles. That's part of the alignment that us and the Corps both agree is where it should be. And we have another project directly related to Ida flooding community, industrial park. We're going to raise the highway. It's an area that had significant flooding during Ida. We finished the project that was under construction when Ida hit to raise the levee on the backside to 8. Now we're coming to the road, which is the next lowest section, and we're cutting some connectivity to the Bayou Lafourche and then a coastal canal. And all this is going to be working to improve these areas to where they have much, much less risk going forward.
Oh, pretty exciting things. Guys, thanks so much for the update. We appreciate
thank
it.
you.
We'll be right back with more Going Public later on.